I always like to put something that'll give you the challenge. Yes.
Okay, so it is Saturday and it is Kate Herbert's time to shine. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Morning,
Thank you
Kate.
for coming in.
Good morning.
You've got a few things to tell us about.
Well, I've got one in particular. It was a tricky fortnight. It was very, very busy a couple of weeks ago. There were about 6 shows opening in about 4 nights, and this time there was not a lot. But I did just last night, so my thoughts are really just sort of forming, see Djuna, that's spelled Djuna, Djuna, at the Darebin Speakeasy, which is at the town hall there, which is minutes from my home, which is marvellous. That runs until the 23rd of March, and it's by Eva Rees, who I understand, Nick, you interviewed. Oh,
Yes,
you interviewed or Julie
Yes,
interviewed?
we had Eva on last weekend.
Okay, yeah. And Eva is a trans woman, I understand. I haven't met Eva, but I've seen the program, etc. And the play Djuna is about a trans woman. The beginning of the play, it's a two-hander. The young trans woman becomes a trans woman through the process of the play, is dressed as Chloe, but then tells the man she's meeting that her name is Casey, she's a boy, but we watch her transition over that period of about 2 years. So essentially it's a 90-minute play that tracks a series of clandestine meetings between Marcus, an older man played by Dion Mills, who's wonderful, from Red Stitch, middle-aged, wealthy, apparently heterosexual man, and this submissive young trans woman, or to-be trans woman, played by Jay Gold, known initially as Chloe, then as Casey, we reveal as a boy, and finally Djuna. So let's call her Djuna.
Mm-hmm.
So in these intimate and secret encounters over about 2 years, they engage in this dominant submissive relationship, the older man, the dominant. They explore fantasies that verge on the dangerous and really culminate in quite graphic violence.
Okay, that would be a spoiler, would it?
See it at the beginning. You know from the first 30 seconds. Well, you don't know the detail, but first 30 seconds tells us who's the dangerous one, really.
Yes.
So I think that's a bit of
telegraph. You had some issues with this as an example of a young playwright being given lots of scope.
Well, I don't know that was my first thought about the problem. I'll come to that perhaps, Nick. I know what you're talking about. But I think it deals with, it's 2 characters, and 90 minutes is quite difficult for any playwright to manage. I often say to my playwriting students, if you introduce a third character, even briefly, it shifts the dynamic and adds some sort of content. This has episodes with even numbers projected on screen saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very hard to advance the action if there's nothing else to change the dynamic in the relationship apart from the fact that time has passed and one has been taking hormone treatment, really. The drama seems to be about the underlying psychological problems. There's also a whole lot of talk about riots or protests that are outside. And I think the play's trying to do too much. Let's put it that way.
This is always an issue with younger composers, writers. They try to pour everything they have into their early works. And
everything
things.
that's important.
Yes, which is fine and that's totally understandable. So, it didn't turn out to be satisfying viewing for you. Do you think is a solution to that?
Well, I think I'd love to say to Eva Rees, get a really rigorous and experienced dramaturg.
Now, what is a dramaturg? It's a weird word.
Yeah, it's different from script editor. It's not just someone who cuts and pastes things. It's my dramaturg, Nancy Black, is so rigorous. It's like my play turned into a completely different animal over 6 months. A dramaturg will say to you, what do you want this play to say? What is this play about? This scene needs to be about X. So you're looking at what the intention of the play is and whether that intention is being achieved by the script that you've got.
When it's being put on the page.
Yeah, because when I got to the end of this play, I thought, I don't know that was a message the playwright or director wanted me to get from it. I know, I think, what the intention is, but an audience member generally would not necessarily. They might just be excited seeing a trans character on stage, which a number of people last night were, obviously, which is great. But putting a play on stage because on the page the content sounds fascinating, young man transitioning, engages with an older man, etc., doesn't necessarily mean that play will be as good as it sounds in that one line.
Will be good drama. Yes.
Yeah,
and
will
that's
be,
what a dramaturg does
script.
is turns it into theatre, into something
helps the writer.
Yeah.
If the writer has the skill, it doesn't matter if you have a writer that has limited skill. It's not going to matter how good your dramaturg is, because they're not going to write it for you. So yeah, that's the purpose of the dramaturg, to help you.
So we've got new writers, and this is Darebin Speakeasy is very good at bringing in a very new agenda for performance. But we've also got a very seasoned playwright, and he was interviewed by Julie Horton last week, David Williamson.
Completely different, like other end of the spectrum altogether. Let me just say before we leave the speakeasy, not the play itself, the programming I thought at the Darebin Speakeasy was for the entire Darebin community, but what I'm seeing in the program is that it's a very narrow band of community looking for younger alternative audiences, not the older or people who don't go to the theatre for other reasons, migrant cultures or whatever. Anyway, back to David Williamson. The Removalists opens tonight at the MTC.
How old is the Removalists?
The Removalists was,
roughly.
I didn't know I was talking about this, 1969?
So it's an old, is.
70,
Don's Party,
69,
it is a 70s
70,
icon.
Yeah, and a really terrific play. Removalists and police and fights and blokes and, male, lots of toxic maleness, etc., before the term was coined. But again, as I'm saying, I haven't really looked into it. I'm seeing it tonight. I like to go in cold again and not try and refresh what I think about. So
you're going to try and see it from today's eyes?
Well, I don't think I'll have much choice because my young eyes are gone.
Yeah.
But I know I'll be able to look at it with the sense that La Mama allowed new material, new ideas and new performers, writers, directors to emerge in that period. And so David Williamson was one of those. The Australian voice was not heard. And La Mama here, the Pram Factory APG round the corner where the supermarket is now. With Time. And in Sydney it was the Nimrod, now Belvoir. They started and Playbox. Playbox and Nimrod started the same year, 72, I think it was. So all of this new work, this Australian work, was emerging in that period. And there was lots of wacky stuff happening at the APG as well. There were these plays, the Williamson sort of plays that La Mama produced, and then
there was the Dimboola effect as well.
There's the Dimboola, Jack Herbert, who worked in that more sort of black absurd. But Williamson's this play is much more naturalistic, and but it's about Australian-ness. And I think that's what we're not exploring now. We're exploring in new work something different. The Australian-ness, well, perhaps we are, but the different kind of Australian-ness.
I think it's a big. I think I remember we were talking with Eva, that Eva Rees, the playwright of Djuna, that she was saying her concern, I think she shares this with her generation, is that everyone is very fragmented now. So there isn't you can't categorise anybody. There's no such thing anymore as Australian-ness, because and it's not a healthy fragmentation either. No. It's not about people having the right to individuals. It's about us becoming isolated and things. So I think we have to tread on some sharp glass here with some new theatre coming through until it finds its way.
Well, yeah, perhaps that's true. I just want to be going to see things that are good, and if people are programming things before they're ready, I'm very concerned. So if you're choosing work because you want the writer to come from a particular part of the community, but that writer is not actually a writer yet, or that director is not, then leave it alone.
Support.
Fix it up. Send it to a student performance. Take it into readings. If the readings don't work and the development doesn't work, don't program it.
Yeah, it needs to be organic.
It does.
Yeah, things need to evolve.
Yeah.
Then they have authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's always the assumption that the audience is dumb.
Yeah.
It's like people in the audience, they can see that it's not ready. They can feel that it's not ready.
Yeah. They may not know exactly why.
Yeah,
I can look at it and name 6 things that need doing to certain pieces, but most of the audience go, that's good, that's okay. And others will jump up and down and clap like seals because they love one concept, or it's a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
A friend in the
but
show.
it doesn't do any. Who does it serve in the end? The reviews
Doesn't
come out.
serve theatre.
Yeah, and then it's not going to be put on again. The reviews come out. No one's going to want to touch it to the dramaturg. We're hanging to the drama, and then it doesn't get another go.
Yeah.
It's a
But
shame.
we don't want to discourage.
No.
There's
We want new
people
work.
folks,
We
yes.
want writers. But we also want professionalism. We don't want Australian theatre industry to tumble into amateurism, because it's trying new stuff and giving people a go. You can't just, in any other profession, I mean, you're not going to give someone a go with a tuba, are you? Oh, can you have a go? You've never played it before. Can you have a go? I'm going to put you in the orchestra.
No.
I mean, really?
Oh, well, it could
Gymnasts,
happen.
circus performers?
No, anyway, this is Kate Herbert. And
On fire.
On fire. So, yes. So,
pet
and I
topic.
think at the end of the day, it's about resourcing too, because
Yeah.
we've got to pay
No
people,
money.
we've got to give people the chance to do
And
that.
some people just need time.
They do, but
Just
they've
give
also
them
got
some
to be. But yes, someone has to back them up to do it. But I think things get rushed because there isn't the money, and things have to go. Kate, I'm going to sign off. What are you going to do?
I'll sign off too.